Hey there, it's David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and I just completed a workout with a bunch of my pros. We do a monthly workout where we do clips, pieces of scripts, we work on them, I give them feedback and direction, we ask questions, answer questions. It's all part of the pro curriculum, these monthly workouts. And this month happened to be the month where most people have taken a module that talk about IVR as well as self-direction and commercials and so on. And something that popped up was this aspect of IVR, which is interactive voice response, phone prompts, phone trees, that I teach, that makes sure that when you're doing this kind of work, you call attention to something that can easily fly by somebody who is on their phone trying to get their credit card balance or trying to get through to customer service in a loud environment, and they're listening to your recorded bits to help them find what they're looking for. And so that's one of the pattern interruptions that I wanted to talk to you about today. The second one has to do with commercials and the way commercials are aired. Pattern interruption, to begin with, is just what it sounds like. You have something that you expect that's a pattern of speech or music or progression of some sort, and yet the interruption of that pattern calls attention to something. Marketers use it all the time. They will start you down a path where you think you know where things are going, and then they'll veer off to the left with something humorous or comical or intriguing or interesting. And that's called a pattern interrupt, because you have a pattern that you are going to be following, but then it's interrupted in an interesting way. So one of the things that I teach in the class is to make sure that when you give callers, and I'm talking about the IVR class right now, when you give callers the action and the option for that action, this is a very typical thing, would be for sales, press 1. For service, press 2. First you have the option, sales or service, and then you have the action that they want to take, press 1, press 2. And what I tell them to do is to have a certain melody or musicality about it so that it actually calls out the attention of the person who's listening, and it highlights it for them. So what I say to do is, for service, press 1. And in there is a little beat before the number, and then the number at a higher pitch than one might expect, and the pattern might dictate. Because you might think it should say, for service, press 1. For sales, press 2, or something like that. The problem is when you're on the phone, and there may be who knows what is going on around you, car noise, you're inside a store, you're at home and the television's on, who knows what's going on. You want to be able to hear what the action is that you're supposed to take to get the option that you wanted. So I say take a beat and raise your pitch. That's called a pattern interrupt. So for sales, press 1. For service, press 2. And hearing it isolated like that, it may sound a little jerky and a little halting and a little plodding. But when you're on the phone, your goal is to find what you're looking for. Your goal is to interact with the company. And you want to make that as easy as possible. So that pattern interrupt makes that possible. Now, there's one other way of doing a pattern interrupt that also applies to what we do. And that is in a commercial where the product name or the brand, the company name, or the positioning statement, those are the three most important parts of any commercial, and the three most important words in any commercial: the name of the product, the name of the brand, and the positioning statement. And when those things occur at the very, very beginning or at the very, very end of a commercial, it kind of requires a pattern interrupt when you do your work. You know, we always try to be as realistic as the story calls for. You know, helpful, authentic, authoritative, but you have to remember sort of the space in which these things are being exhibited. And what I mean by that is, if you're doing a commercial for radio or television or for the internet, there's always something that precedes it, and there's always something that follows it. Either another commercial or a promo announcement or the weather or pieces of a show. And those things could have sounds at the end or at the beginning of what precedes or what follows that are louder or softer or have explosions or crowd noise or a music bed or who knows what it is. But your job at the very beginning of your commercial is to arrest the attention away from whatever preceded the commercial so that you can talk about solving the problem with your guy's product or service, right? And so you'll sometimes hear voiceover talent do a very realistic job of telling a story in a commercial, except at the beginning and at the end. You might hear them say, new from Nabisco, it's double thin Oreos. I don't even know if that's a product. Or at the very end, buy it now, Toyota, right? There's a little bit of an elevation because they realize that they might be coming out of something that is arresting, might be going into something that's arresting, and your client is paying for 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 15 seconds, whatever it is. They're not paying for 29.5 or 29. They're paying for the full amount of time. And so to grab the attention of the listener or viewer, you do a pattern interrupt. And that pattern interrupt is, okay, the pattern is usually I'm going to talk normally, I'm going to be authoritative, and I'm going to be authentic, and I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to help you solve a problem. But at the very beginning and at the very end, push it just a little bit of Hollywood, a little bit of spotlight on it, just to grab the attention. So new from Nabisco, or at the very end, save money, live better, Walmart, right? There's a pattern to that, and there's a musicality to that. Anyway, I found it interesting, and I thought you might like to understand why I teach things that way, that pattern interrupt way, because it helps you grab the attention of the viewer or the listener, and you help them get their job done. You help them understand why the product or service that you are talking about is going to be useful to them. Yeah. Or you help them, in the case of IVR, find what they're looking for to interact with the company. So you win. Either way, it's awesome. Any other pattern interrupts that you're familiar with? Anything else that you use pattern interrupt for? Does this all make sense to you? Leave me a comment below and let me know. I'd love to find out. If you're watching this anywhere but vo2gogo.com, go to vo2gogo.com because we talk about all kinds of things that will make your performance life better. I mean, we love if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, but we'd really love if you're over at vo2gogo.com. And if you want to subscribe to my channel on YouTube so that you can be notified the moment these videos are released, go ahead, click on my head there. If my head isn't there, there's a subscribe button somewhere on the page here. And if you want to see the very latest video that I've done, go ahead and click on that frame and YouTube will play it for you. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.